How's that sound? We can participate. We can participate with each other, and if you can't understand Jacob or me, just say so. The wines we've chosen for tonight, because this was like probably the inaugural launch of your Zoom tastings,
Right.
and we picked wines, full bottles, and we didn't want you guys to go broke buying them. So we have 2 Santa Rita 120s, a Sauvignon Blanc, and a Cabernet, and those are their entry level wines. And then I had to bring this Medalla Real, because this was on the Wine Enthusiast Top 100. This was number 11, and this wins all kinds of awards. So I thought maybe you should try it. It's mostly Cab, a little piece of Cab Franc. It's delicious. So do you have your wine glasses ready and all your wine open, or whatever you want to open? And I'm not.
We actually started without you.
Okay, fine. We did too.
Yeah, we did too.
We had an early dinner a little bit ago, and so we started with the Cabernet 120.
Ooh.
How'd you like that? It's an okay everyday drinker. What do you think?
That's what I'm thinking. It's you know, just kind of a bargain wine, I think, normally.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Okay, so should we talk a little bit about Santa Rita? Should I try to be as professional as possible here? Santa Rita was established in 1880 by a gentleman named Domingo Fernandez Concha, just like Concha y Toro. So apparently back in the day, Concha was a very popular or familiar name in Chile, just like Smith is up here, I suppose, is what I read. They own 5 wineries in Chile. Most of them are around the city of Santiago. The Medalla Real is from the Maipo Valley, and they are big supporters of Chilean culture, Chilean heritage. They are big supporters. They support the, I don't know if you're a soccer fan, but the Chilean team called Arsenal, or maybe I'm pronouncing it, I need to put that little Spanish twinge on it, Arsenal, but it doesn't end in an E. So, but they are big sponsor of that soccer team. How much do y'all know about Chilean? We need to change the page. How did you do that?
Yep, right.
How much do you know about Chilean wine history? A little bit, a lot. Do you want to talk about that for a little bit?
Yes, I only know a tiny bit.
Can you see our slides? Can you see the slides? Okay,
yes.
So there you go. Santa Rita. I put this slide on here because, you know, it's easy, it's self-explanatory. You can see the timeline. So the Spanish conquistadors brought the vines to Chile back in the 15th and 16th and 17th centuries. First vineyards were planted then. Oh, dear Lord. Here's my sheet. Never mind. Highly organized here. Back in the early days, the Chilean wine business was run by like 10 families. And so you had multi-generations of these families running the vineyards. And that was in the 16 and 1700s. Then, of course, the Chileans wanted to break from Spain, and they had that national independence drive in like 1814. And so I couldn't find a for sure reference to this because I tried to look this up. The national independence drive began in the Santa Rita cellar by 120 patriots. I could not find solid proof of that anywhere I looked in my Chilean wine history. But apparently these patriots, they were with the Andes Army. They were camped out there at Santa Rita, which had properties all around the town of Santiago. And they were instrumental in overthrowing the Spanish government. So then down the road in the 1980s, most of the wine that was made in Chile stayed in Chile until the 1980s, 1990s, when you had investors from France, Spain, all come to Chile because they realized that they could grow grapes so well down there on natural rootstock, save some money. There was never phylloxera in Chile. And it was real easy to create vineyards. And then with the influx of their money, the quality got better and the wines were exported all over the world. So Chile is the 5th largest exporter of wines and the 7th largest producer of wine in the world. 75% of the wine that is made in Chile is exported. And I mean like Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, Cabernet Merlot. They have a grape down there called Pais, P-A-I-S. That's like the California Mission grape, and that's what the locals, they drink a lot of that. That's their everyday drink. In Chile, water is almost always scarce. They don't get but maybe 12 to 14 inches of rain a year. The vineyards depend on snow melt from the Andes to come down in the summer, in the warmer months. They have little canals dug all over the area, and that waters the vineyards. And then, of course, now I think the government kind of controls the water, how much each vineyard gets. You get more water if you pay more. So there still is, you know, a little corruption. So if that makes sense. So at this time, if you haven't, Betsy, if you haven't tried your Santa Rita Sauvignon Blanc, we probably should.
We just poured it. Thank you.
Sure. So this is 100% Sauvignon Blanc. It is from the Central Valley. It's beautiful. It's crisp and clean, and it's varietally correct. Tastes like a Sauvignon Blanc. And like Steve said, this is a good everyday drinker. Keep this on your patio in a bucket of ice, and you know, nice patio pounder. You have a Sauvignon Blanc. Some folks might want a rosé. The Santa Rita people do not make a rosé, so I didn't throw one in the tasting. Sorry to say, but this is pretty tasty. What do you think?
Very refreshing.
Very grapefruity. I'm getting a lot of grapefruit flavor.
Lots of grapefruit.
It's zesty.
It is zesty in a pleasant way. I mean, I drink a lot of New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc in the course of my career at Heidelberg. This is just a little fleshier than some of the New Zealand Sauvignon Blancs I have. Its edges are a little softer. It's not real sharp. Sharp enough, but not mean that it hurts your teeth. You know what I'm saying?
You guys have your charcuterie plate out? Enjoying that with it? So it would work really well too.
Betsy, did you get food too?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that would work really well.
Got it all.
So Steve and Martha, that's it. That's just the two of you at your house. Bets, how many people do you have at your house?
Just 2.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Nice and intimate.
Intimate.
She's someone we see at the restaurant.
Let's see. What else do we want to know? Let's turn the page. See what's on that next slide.
All right.
Leslie, I have a question. You mentioned the grape pies, which is also Mission.
It's
you ever-
very similar to that Mission grape. Yes. I don't know if it's exactly the same, but I think it is pretty darn close, Steve.
Was it brought there by the missionaries then when they,
Absolutely.
so the Spaniards brought it?
I think the Spaniards brought the Pais to Chile, and then somehow Mission grape ended up in California. Does that make sense? Kind of a weird backward circle, because California was, I don't think there was many people in California in the 16th century, right? So to my knowledge, it made that kind of backward circle. Clockwise.
Counterclockwise.
Kind of clockwise circle.
That's crazy.
So this slide shows you that Santa Rita owns a ton of property. And You have Leda and Apalta. Leda is where the Chardonnay comes from, Maipo Valley. It's the Bordeaux of Chile. The Bordeaux of Chile. Since we're sitting in the back of the restaurant doing this, every so often, Jacob's gonna jump out of the circle. So, here we go. Let's change this slide. Oh, look at that. So I had to include a map because I like maps. So right there in the center of the map, that's where most of the property that Santa Rita owns is concentrated. If you go north to the Lima Valley, that is one of my most favorite pieces of earth down in Chile. I don't have a representative of that wine here tonight, but there's a lot of seashells, a lot of minerality in that valley. So the Chardonnays, I would imagine if you could find a Lima Chardonnay here in Columbus, and you tasted it blindly, I bet you wouldn't pick it as coming from Chile. It has a little bit of that French minerality going on. That's my opinion. Casablanca, of course, is Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, but Maipo is the Bordeaux of Chile. So the vineyards in Chile are long and skinny, and that stretch of vineyards from north to south is about 870 miles. And Chile is only maybe, what, 100 miles wide at the widest? So that helps you get that protection of phylloxera. Phylloxera was a root louse that destroyed all the vineyards in Bordeaux in the 1800s. And those cuttings that went to Chile with those missionaries back in the 17th, 16th, 18th centuries, they were perfect. It was the crazy Americans who introduced that root louse to France and killed all those vineyards. But the vines in Chile don't have that root louse. And the reason being, if you look at that map, long and skinny, you have the Pacific Ocean on the west. On the east, you have the Andes Mountains, and north and south, you have deserts. Root louse, they're bugs. They have kind of softy skin and they hate sand. So they never took off in Chile. Does that make sense?
Sure does.
And if I'm going over things that you guys already know, you can tell me that I'm crazy and I can just keep moving on. Since it's just the six of us.
Oh, this is good. This is good.
I always like to hear the background.
Okay, let's see. Here's my thing. All right. This gentleman, Oscar Salas, is the winemaker at Santa Rita. He's very nice. Maybe with COVID, I mean, he's been to the United States several times, but maybe after COVID subsides a little bit, maybe some of these wonderful folks will start traveling again. And then Sebastian Labe, he makes some of the premium wines that Santa Rita has. That tonight I did not include in the tasting because they can be a little pricey. And I thought since it was just the three wines, I thought I should keep it in a reasonable price point. And he also participates in creating the Mandala Real. So they got some talent down here. I threw this slide in just so you could see all the crazy medals that Santa Rita wins. Impact top 10 times Winery of the Year and Wine and Spirits. If you get any of these publications, you will recognize Santa Rita. And if you're from here in Columbus, Santa Rita used to be sold by another distributor, and we've had it for about 3 years now. All the wines are sustainably grown. They are very conscious of soil, especially pesticides. In the early 1900s, the Chilean wine growers used a ton of pesticides to control grape production, grape yield, and they were polluting the soil. And as you can see from this little slide, early 2011 it says, but early 2000s is when the families that came from Europe and invested in Chile said, oh, you guys, we've got to do something about all the chemicals you're using. Let's get back to a more commonplace. So there is about 15% Semillon in this little Sauvignon Blanc. And maybe that's where you get that nice little creaminess. It gets Best Buys all the time because it is a Best Buy. It's what, $8?
Right. That is good.
$8.
Are these all from the same producer?
The next slide I have up, we could talk about red wines if you want. We have Santa Rita 120 Cabernet. Do you have that one open? I know Steve does. Betsy, do you have that one open?
Yeah, we opened them all, so we're ready to go.
Oh, yay!
We're not messing around.
So this is 100% Cabernet. A lot of this comes from the Maipo Valley. I threw this nice, easy little slide in there. But for $8, you know, $8 right now in Columbus, Ohio, what a deal.
Right, that's a really good deal. For a nice wine.
What do you think about the Cab?
I think it's better than a box wine for similar price.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Smells like
You know, with something this inexpensive, is it in a barrel program, or would the barrel, the oakiness or whatever, come from oak chips?
Well,
How would they do that and keep that price that low?
I think they probably use staves in big older oak barrels, maybe huge big barrels is what I'm thinking. And only a small percentage of the wine really gets that oak treatment. But I truly believe it's big oak barrels with the staves in the barrel to keep their costs in line. Does that make sense? Because
Yes.
French oak barrels are crazy expensive.
Yeah.
And if you use a little bit of oak in fermentation and then a little bit of oak in the aging process, and I don't think this sees much, I think this is probably 3 to 6 months of that semi-oak aging that helps them keep it at that friendly price.
Yeah. Now, can they reuse the barrels?
They do reuse the barrels. Wineries reuse barrels all the time. Barrels are expensive. What do you think a barrel is now, Steve?
This is like a French oak barrel can be anywhere from 12 to 1,500 American dollars right
Yeah.
now. And when I first got interested in wine, I think it was in the 900 to 1,000 range. So you can see it's creeping up.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's not that many men, not that many coopers, and I'm saying men because to make a barrel requires a ton of physical strength. You have to have that upper body strength, and you have to have arms that are like precision implements to get those barrels together, heat them, keep them moist, get them to with the staves all fitting together. Just it's an art form, and you have to apprentice for 3 to 5 years to become a cooper.
Oh, wow.
Easily 3 to 5 years, depending on what barrel making company that you work for. In my travels, I've been to a couple cooperages, and these guys are amazing. And if you're really good, you are amazingly fast, and you can put a barrel together in 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Just to digress about barrels, bourbon. Bourbon is barrel aged, and that bourbon barrel is only used one time.
Yeah.
And then the bourbon distilleries sell off those barrels. A lot of them end up in Scotland for scotches, where they break them down and remake them because they're always kind of warped and there might be a few cracks in there. But then they end up in other areas as well. Sometimes sherry barrels end up in Chile probably for the more expensive wines. But like I said to Steve, they probably use staves in really big barrels.
And of course, a used barrel might end up at like Jackios for their barrel aged beer program. So that's kind of the cool thing that happens with once and twice used barrels.
Yep, beer, sour beers. If you're a brewery with a sour facility, you age a lot of that beer in old bourbon barrels, old whiskey barrels, old sherry barrels, even old Cabernet barrels from California will end up all over the world. People pay a lot of money for those crazy barrels, and like in bourbon producers, they only use them once, so they have to resell them to get their money out of them if they're costing them $1,000, right?
This is bourbon that's aged in a bourbon barrel. They sent the barrel over and then they aged the Syrah and then brought it back and aged that. And
Oh, nice.
they barrel aged the Syrah.
So here we're digressing a little bit, since it's just the 6 of us. High West whiskey. Are you familiar with this? Any, Steve, Betsy?
That's the new one down on Goodale?
On Goodale. Mhm.
No, they're actually out of Utah.
They're out of Utah is what Patrick
Oh.
says.
Yeah,
So
Okay.
Patrick is,
the bourbon guy.
he's the bourbon guy, and if you've been to Alcoria, you've met Patrick.
We know we want to raid his cellar.
You want to read yourself. So Patrick said this was a bourbon barrel that was sent where? I don't know where it was sent, but they aged Syrah in this barrel, and then they shipped the barrel back, and the High West people aged the whiskey in that probably 3rd use now barrel. So this whiskey is pretty special. This was an Ohio State pick. Ohio being a control state, they can pick and choose what we see. So this was a nice little barrel pick, and there is a bottle here at Alcoria for you guys to enjoy. So Madala Real is a 350-year-old vineyard in Maipo Valley. And right like on the slide, it says 92 points. My Spectator top 100. On Enthusiast, it was number 11 in their top 100. This gets great press. It's a single vineyard. The vines are upward of, wait, I'll tell you, I wrote it down. The vines are upward of close to 20+ years old. The berries are very small, which concentrates everything, concentrates the color, the tannins, and then creates this lovely wine. Single vineyard. Madala Real, there's a medal on the bottle. You don't want that. There's this little medal here on the bottle, and this went to some of the patriots that fought for Chilean independence. And so they repurposed this image for some of their higher quality wines. That's where the Madala Real comes from. So it was the patriots fighting for Chilean independence. And it wasn't just Chile, it was Argentina, it was Peru, and some of the gentlemen that fought in these wars went to the other countries, but they had to yank independence from Spain because Spain would not let them produce any wine for export. It all had to be consumed in Chile, and that's just a small thing. I'm sure there was other crazy things going on, but Spain did not want any Chilean products in Spain until probably the late 1800s, and this revolution for independence happened in the early 1800s. So there's that too.
So they're still growing in the original vineyard.
Yep, still grown in the original vineyard. It is elevated slightly. The skin on these grapes is maybe a little thicker than some other areas. The thicker the skin, the richer the color. Vineyards up high get a little more sunshine, a little more UV, so the grapes create that thicker skin just to protect them just a little bit, if that makes sense. All right, that's my little spiel, you guys. What else do we need to talk about? Let's see, do you have any questions? am I rambling way too much?
No, you're not rambling too much. It's very interesting.
Yeah, we really like that one.
It is, and it, you know, it's what, $14?
Yeah, no, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
$14 retail. Single
one
vineyard,
wine.
92 points.
They're both good. This one has like, doesn't have the, I don't get the caramely flavor that I got from the 120, but more like almost like an ashen type of tannin to it. Chalky, maybe.
Chalky, but
Just the way
very
the tannin-
smooth. It's like well integrated.
Exactly. And I love the color.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, Chilean wine has not come to the United States for more than maybe 30 years, because before then the quality was not so great. And if we did import it, it was maybe not box wines back in 1990, but definitely jug wine. And then you have these larger companies, mining companies. The gentleman who founded Santa Rita, he made all his money mining down there in Chile. That's where he got all his money to do the grapes.
So how are the points earned? Like, like,
I think the points are very subjective. So let's say the Wine Spectator, and Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, Wine Spectator, Wine Enthusiast, they have a panel of tasters, judges, if you will, and they have, let's say, a dozen elements that they check plus or minus for every wine that they taste, and they compile all those elements, and then a score is generated.
okay.
But it's a very subjective thing. So my advice has always been, when you look at wine scores, and there'll be different scores from every wine, sooner or later, maybe you'll find a reviewer that kind of fits your palate.
Yeah.
Robert Parker is great, but when you understand that Robert Parker loves highly extracted, deeply tannin wines that will stain your teeth purple, if that's your style, then follow what he says about wines. If you are more casual, I suppose is a good word, in your wine tastes, follow something like the Wine Spectator or the Wine Enthusiast, because those wines are more readily available as well, and sometimes slightly less expensive than the wines that other reviewers may decide to review. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
To me, it makes, because some of the wine reviewers that I like a lot are, is it Matt Ketterman is with Wine Enthusiast, and then Josh Reynolds, and I'm trying to think of the other one, but because Martha and I are such big fans of the Central Coast in California, there's a few reviewers out there that really kind of find that more attractive to their palate, and for that reason we kind of follow their scores and what they have to say. I think with Robert Parker, things are changing so much as he's begun to retire,
Great.
or has he retired already? And so some of the youngsters are coming up, and it's their palates that are gonna kind of be the shining stars of Wine Advocate.
And maybe that's a good thing. I mean, there's a lot of young people coming into the world of wine, of the wine consumer. And you want them to be engaged. You don't want them to come up against the stodgy old school all the time. I mean, when you look at all the natural wines that are out there, and how they are not manipulated at all, they're unfiltered, unfined, natural yeast, and that seems to be on a little uptick now with people drinking wine.
Right.
It's something to embrace.
And I think, was it John Bonet who did that book? He was the reviewer for San Francisco Chronicle for years. And then he did that book called New California Wine that really focused on some of these up and coming youngsters. And so you had people like Tegan Pasalacqua, who is the winemaker for Turley, but then he has his own label called Sandlands, and what he's focusing on are like really maybe old vine stuff that he's found throughout California, but focusing on things like Chenin Blanc and Carignan. And in fact, in his most recent offering, I didn't get any, but he offered an actual bottling of Mission grape.
Oh,
And
cool.
again, there's a grape I've never tasted, like Pays. I've never tasted that, but man, would that be fun to try?
And new winemakers are encouraging people to seek out the lesser known grape varieties, because Lord knows there's thousands of grape varieties, literally thousands. And some grapes varieties, they reinvent themselves every few years with a different clone or two, and I think that's part of the natural selection. And Lord knows what we're going to find out as possibly global warming continues.
Right.
You know, as it gets hotter, we're going to have to rethink how we treat Cabernet Sauvignon and Sauvignon Blanc and Chardonnay.
Well, Champagne region.
Oh, champagne as well. See, that's what we should taste. We need to taste some bubbles.
Let's do it.
We're in.
I'm in. I could drink champagne or something sparkling every day. Every day, all day.
What's your favorite high-end champagne?
Oh.
We just had a party with our friends where everyone brought something over $60. So, I mean, not high-end.
So I like my champagne to have maybe a little heavier, more masculine twinge to it. So I like a little more Pinot Noir. I love Charles Heidsieck Brut Reserve.
Okay.
And that's probably $60.
Is that the same, like, is Piper Heidsieck the same thing?
So at one time, the Heidsieck family, they were related.
Was it there?
But then Charles Heidsieck, if you look up Charles Heidsieck, they used to call him Champagne Charlie. So in the late 1800s, he would travel the world, you know, showing off his champagnes. And there's some great stories about how he was in New Orleans with the champagnes. And it was Champagne Charlie, it was Charles Heidsieck, but there's good stories about him. So I tend to like champagnes with just a little more.
Leslie's always bringing up some
Yeah.
treats.
Champagne, but you know, I won't turn down a Prosecco. I like Prosecco sometimes, well, an Aperol Spritz.
Yeah.
I could drink that all the time and, you know, be completely happy. I could pretend we were in Italy or something, or in Spain, or we could just sit out in your patio and have Aperol Spritzes.
Right.
Have you tried a Spritz Select?
No. What is that?
So it's basically Aperol, but actually what they have in Venice is called Select. It's like a similar bitter liqueur, but it's a little different than Aperol.
Okay.
So it's an Aperol Spritz, but with a different bitter liqueur, and it's, I think, better. So
Okay.
they just now started, you can find it like at Wylands around here. So
I'll have to check that out. And then I sell one called Italicus Rosolino. And it is Italian, and it is not bitter, but it's made from bergamot oranges.
Oh.
And it comes in this, if you're out and about, and Wyland should have it, if you're out and about, you'll see that stunning blue bottle. The bottle is all faceted and it's blue. It's like a aqua blue.
Oh,
We tasted it.
I think so. Yeah.
I brought it in here to Jacob. So we're gonna create a cocktail here so we can sit on
Oh,
the,
here it is.
oh, look, here it is. Look, they did this one.
Oh, it's awesome.
Okay. Like you mix
Oh,
it
wow.
with like the same way like you would a Spritz?
Absolutely. And the recipe that they promote with this says to put some olives in with your Prosecco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that little salty brininess from the olive kind of complements.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
gorgeous.
that's better. That's,
But this
Awesome.
is good. And this is clear. It comes in this stunning bottle, but this liqueur inside is clear. And that's new. That's new to us here in Central Ohio, but that could be a fun little patio pounder. What's your favorite champagne?
I mean,
You're gonna sound so typical right
I'm
here.
gonna sound so basic. We went to Veuve Clicquot right before the pandemic
Oh, yeah.
happened, and we went to it, so we had it there and we liked it a lot. So that's my last memory of the world before it changed forever.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
The
that's
before
what
time.
Steve, you and Martha drink champagne. You drink
We
bubbles.
don't drink a lot of champagne, but the ones that I like have become unaffordia to us anyway. So it's better that we don't develop a great taste for it. But I up here, Peters, and then the rosé from Via Carte Simone
Yeah.
is one of my favorites. And then there's another one. It's been a few years since I've had it, but I know that you have it at Heidelberg. And it's got the interesting shaped bottle. And I'm having a hard time remembering the name of it.
Not the Stradivarius.
Nope. I'd recognize it as soon as you said it.
Huh. And is it expensive?
Yeah, well, it's maybe $80
Huh.
and I believe there's a white and a rosé, but it just has a really unique shaped bottle.
Darn
Is
it.
it more tulip shaped maybe?
Well, and I've seen Perrier Jouet went to that kind of a tulipy bottle this year, first year ever. Canard Duchenne is another one of my favorite champagnes. Canard Duchenne Brut. It's more popular in France than it is here, but every once in a while we get a nice little. We did a little champagne dinner here your first year you were open. And a rep from Canard Duchenne was here, and that was amazing. And you know, getting that little buzz from champagne for me is very pleasant. I love that.
Yeah, it's fun, but-
It's a good buzz.
all right.
I wish I could remember the name of this, but it'll come to me probably about 3 a.m. So I'll call you.
Well, okay, that's fine. That's fine. My phone will be downstairs, so it's okay.
Now,
Special shape.
does Heidelberg have any of the pet nats?
No, see, that's one thing we have not embraced.
Okay. Because I know more and more, you know, again, that's sort of the young people are telling us that's what they're really enjoying. And I just think it's really kind of fun to try them. And of course, they come with the crown cap. You don't have to deal with the cork, right?
Has Vanguard, has Matt shown you any of those?
No,
Yeah, the pet nats are nice, very popular with the younger folks, learning all about wines and folks that don't want their wines over manipulated.
Does Wine Trends carry any of the pet nats?
I think they have just maybe two,
Okay.
3, less, 6 or so at the most. So. Okay, this is great.
Yeah.
I'm sorry we're rambling so much.
I wasn't rambling.
We signed up for. Thank you for everything.
Oh, you're welcome. What else? Anything else you need to know? Anything else I skimmed over? What did we forget?
Are all of these commercially available or
Yes.
like okay.
Or you can sneak in here to Al Korea anytime, and Chef and Patrick have them here for you as well. They definitely have a case of each after the event, just in case you wanted to come here and snag at state minimum retail here.
Okay.
But yes, you won't find them all over the place like the Medalla Real with that crazy score. You won't find it
Which is the one?
everywhere.
This one?
The 120s you might find to be more familiar, but once again, I wanted you to have 3 wines that weren't a budget buster for you.
And I think, Leslie, don't we carry the 120 at Gentiles? I've not been in there since COVID, but you know, I know that we used to have it there on that shelf of like really inexpensive wines right
might.
inside the shop.
You might, I don't know. I haven't been into Gentiles in a while either. You can find, yeah, like I said, you can snag them from Jacob and Patrick right now, but you know, and if you can't find them, all you have to do is ask. They're readily available, and wherever you want to shop for wine, they'll bring them in for you. It doesn't cost anybody an extra thing just to bring bottles in.
Right.
No charge for one bottle, no big deal.
charge. Yep.
Yep.
So if it's convenient for you to get all your retail wine here with Jacob and Patrick, Yahoo, we'll all send it.
Right.
You know, if you live
So-
down the street around the corner, it's perfect.
So can I ask a personal question of the Coughlins?
Sure.
And you don't have to answer to this, but post-pandemic, if you were in Champaign, where's your place to go once you can travel again?
In Champaign?
Or just
No, anywhere.
Oh, well, we've got our passports ready to go. We're gonna go to Spain.
Ooh,
Right.
awesome.
Yeah,
Italy is a close second.
Yeah.
Whoever lets us in first, that's where we're going.
Great.
You're gonna have to get a tapa. Get a bunch of tapas.
Yeah, tapas, make sure you keep a fork in your back pocket when you're walking wherever you are in Barcelona or wherever, and you do that tapas thing.
Mhm.
A lot of the people will put a fork in their back pocket because sometimes the tapas
Right.
Yeah,
aren't served and they're all finger foods.
I'm interested to see how it's gonna change. We've done both a couple times. We just
Oh, cool.
like, I don't know how tapas culture is gonna change once you maybe can't just pick something off the bar and grab it. So
Yeah. That is true. It'll be interesting.
And the ham in Spain.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I love to America.
Iberico ham. Was that on their charcuterie plates?
good.
It's quite expensive.
Right. Those are some really cool pigs. They feed those pigs chestnuts.
Yeah, Acorns.
Acorns
Yeah,
towards the
yeah,
end.
yeah. They're treated like royalty. Yeah. And that's some of the best life that's a hit.
Best life. Have you guys been watching Stanley Tucci on CNN?
We are so sad that it's over, I think. I think last week
Those are
when
like
they did
episodes.
Sicily, that was the end.
That was, but he said he was going to do all 20 wine regions in Italy, so he's only done 7.
Oh, so there'd be another season yet.
That's
Wait,
Or
tell us
more.
what this is because we don't know what you're talking about. and
So
I'm interested.
CNN has a series and it's probably on demand now, but it's Stanley Tucci. And if you follow him on Instagram, he's always making cocktails and he makes a really good Negroni, since you like the Aperol thing.
Love Negronis.
They do reruns too.
They do, and you could probably pick it up on demand on CNN, but Stanley Tucci travels in Italy. And I think there's 7 episodes and each episode is a different region in Italy.
Yeah.
So Tuscany, Piedmont, he was in Milan, he was in Rome, he was in Sicily last week, he was in Bologna, and he talks about the culture, the food, a little bit of wine, so it's not all wine oriented, but I just like Stanley Tucci's manner, how he does this. It's very engaging.
Yeah, and it's like the hidden gems he finds, and it's not like the whole tourist beat area, which is really cool about it. So I think that's really some of the best things. And sometimes, like when you see the Barcelona, Spain, it's not really like you don't get the real feel
Right.
of what Spain is.
I think we should get one of those on Instagram, and this is my biggest problem with COVID. I started following way too many people and things on Instagram. So I have a feed that is your cheap dream home or whatever it is on Instagram, and they will flash houses in Italy and in Spain that you can buy for $100,000 or less. And yes, you have to do some work.
Right.
But it is so cool. If I could do that, you know, I would.
Right.
So we could all go to Spain. We buy this house. We each take a couple weeks every year. It's all good.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
We just need a really strong circle of friends to share the work.
Right.
But that's my one Instagram COVID thing. I've had more time than I can look at crazy stuff like that.
Bed and breakfast.
Yeah, a bed and breakfast somewhere would be great.
And I think through all of this pandemic, because Martha and I haven't been able to travel, we've done a lot of Zoom wine tastings. And like last Friday, our daughter lives in Boston. And so we did a Zoom tasting where they received a tasting kit, we received a tasting kit, and then we sat down with the wife of the winemaker and tasted through 5 wines.
Wow.
Which was kind of fun. And we've done that probably 3 or 4 times through the year. And again, simply because we can't travel.
Right. And are you guys, are you planning to see them soon? Or
What's that?
Before they get shot. So,
Jacob, I can't hear you.
I said, are you planning to see her soon, or is it going to be a while still before they're getting shot?
Are you asking about any trips you have planned?
Yeah, I'm going to see if you're going to see your daughter soon.
Oh, we actually planned a trip for early April and then we canceled it because Sarah is a nurse practitioner and she's in the midst of changing from one position to another, and we want to hit her at the right time, and we kind of pulled the trigger too early. So we'll probably go sometime in the April, May, June timeframe. And then we're also thinking we might want to do, we're probably going to do about 3 weeks in California in the fall. But I think Martha wants to get out there for a week before then. And if we do that, it would be in the June timeframe, just because of the weather out there getting really hot for a while.
Great. Travel will be good. Even just sitting this close to Jacob is pretty nice. I'm just
I bet. Yeah. Well, Martha and I finished up our vaccines on February 23rd, so we're beyond our 2-week period, and so we've actually ventured out beyond Alcoria at least once, and when we cheated on Patrick and Jacob, and went to the top restaurant to see our favorite bartender.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Get a good steak. Maybe have the best steaks.
The top is great, but you know what? You're close to people when you're sitting at the top. I had dinner there not too long ago, and it was a Friday night, and they had a ton of people in there. God loves them.
Well, I know that at the, we normally, because of Eddie being the bartender, we eat at the bar, and as people arrive, if there's someone next to you, a plexiglass partition appears next to you.
Oh, okay, cool.
And so they keep it separated that way. We've not been in the dining room for well over a year, so I don't know what it's like in there.
Yeah.
But the bar, they keep the traffic down at the bar. They don't allow full seating. And then if there's anyone that appears near you, you get a plexiglass partition.
But for a year, the only place we have gone was to Alcoria. Much as our daughter was not thrilled about that, but
Betsy, what part of town do you guys live in?
We live in Italian Village.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not too far. We've been there a couple times recently.
There you go.
Awesome.
So,
Yeah.
well, there's a patio going to go in here at Alcoria. And maybe, fingers crossed, if it doesn't rain too much, they'll pour the cement on Friday.
Oh.
Big patio on the side where that little walkway alley was.
Oh, yeah.
The landlord has allowed them to create this stunning new patio. So 2 weeks, we should be out there drinking champagne.
Yeah.
that's the west side of the building. So
Yeah, it's gonna be nice. We're putting a privacy fence up in the back, and then the fence will wrap all the way around in an L shape to connect to the front patio now. And then, yeah, so it's exciting. We're excited about this.
So you two will have to come to that, Betsy, because you know we'll have champagne.
Absolutely. Do you
that's
have
true.
plans do you have plans for another virtual one, or are you hoping it can be in person next time?
I don't know what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
It's up to Jacob and Patrick.
It might be nice to do one that, like outside, to get the patio going, would be good, because I think people would feel comfortable with that a little more.
Oh yeah, we could do some of each.
Yeah, I think kind of like we got on the end of this virtual thing where people are going out more now. They seem to be wanting to hang out again. People are getting vaccinated. So.
I think that's the goal.
I had my first vaccine a couple weeks ago. I get my second one on Friday.
Awesome.
Yeah, I got my first one on
Tuesday.
Hopefully it's done from the Johnsons. I don't know.
Oh, so you only have to have one. So mine was the Pfizer, all good. And you have not had COVID,
No.
but I had COVID in January, and my case was very mild. I would not have known I was sick had I not lost my sense of smell.
Oh my God.
It was awful. It scared the living daylights out of me.
I'll bet, because would it ever come back,
Yeah.
right?
Right, but I think my nose is a little better now than it was. Or maybe I just missed it and I have this nice reset situation going on. My husband was much worse.
Fine, that's horrible.
Kent was
Appreciate
sick
everything
for
even
4
more.
weeks. I'm sorry, say that again?
So you just appreciate everything more now that you have.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I can, it's like I have a new nose. I notice things that maybe I brushed over before. I was at Whole Foods the other day and the whole produce department smelled like onions. So there had to be a couple bad onions in the bin. But damn, I could smell it.
Yeah, that's not strong.
So I was happy. I was afraid that I would not get my sense of smell back.
That's my test every morning when I brew my Brismo coffee pod. If I smell it, then I know.
Great.
Every morning, okay, I smell coffee, I'm good.
I'm not sick today.
Not sick today. When I got up and I saw my husband, he was a mess. And I went into the bathroom to wash my face with the cleanser on, which is a little minty and eucalyptusy. I couldn't smell it at all.
Oh,
And
dear.
I ran into the bedroom and I grabbed all my perfume bottles. Couldn't
Oh my
smell
God.
that. I was like, oh, my life is over. But, so knock on wood, everything is much better.
Good.
Wow. So Jacob, do you need to put in a plug for the fact that you have a wine dinner coming up on April the 7th?
Oh, yeah, I'm good. Yes, yes, I don't know if you guys are dining out or not yet. But we
Betsy, are you folks eating out at all?
Yeah, we are. And actually our wedding anniversary is April 7th. So I'm listening.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that'll be on a Wednesday. Yeah, you should try to come in, you guys. Yeah. Again, start at 6:30 and it's like 4-course meal. And they are gonna be Greek wines.
Oh,
So
Oh,
that'll be fun.
cool.
And it's with Matt from Vanguard. So,
awesome.
yeah.
Well, thanks for everything. This has been really fun.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for playing with us.
Nice to meet you.